Okay, second video of the day. UFC this time. UFC Irvin versus Silva, or Fight Night 14, whatever you want to call it, or Fight Night 14, Irvin versus Silva. Moving onwards. Okay, first up we have. Well, wait, I'm gonna start at the bottom. Okay. First up we have Ultimate Fighter alum CB Dalloway versus Jesse Taylor. Two guys who are primarily wrestlers. CB has the advantage in the striking department. I think Jesse, slightly better grappler. This is really going to depend on who can get on top, I think, because that's really where this fight's going to be decided. I think both guys are, well, Jesse's very hard to finish, and Jesse's not really a finisher, so I think easily is going to decision. I'm going to go with CB, but Jesse winning would not surprise me. CB is the perceived better wrestler. He definitely is the better striker, because Jesse's striking is considerably lacking. I don't see Jesse submitting it from the bottom like Amir does. I just see his superior wrestling ending up winning him the day from top side. He's ground and pound, but Jesse's a tough guy to stop, and that's basically how I see that fight going. Now, the second fight I'm really looking forward to is Cain Velasquez and Jake O'Brien, and for some reason I have judges' decision on this one. I'll correct that. Okay. Cain Velasquez and Jake O'Brien are both relatively high-grade wrestlers by the standards of MMA heavyweights. They're both very good. Cain has some other skills. He has good stand-up. He really likes to push the pace. He has good cardio. He has good grappling skills. Jake O'Brien, not a big pusher of the pace. Relies more on wrestling, but he does have good submission defense. We haven't really seen him try submissions of his own, but he does have good defensive grappling skills, good, excellent wrestling, and he does have pretty good stand-up. That being said, he isn't very good at taking a shot. I don't mean he gets knocked out easily, but you can tell from the Heath Herring fight and the Arlovsky fight, he's just one of those guys that no one actually likes getting hit, but he really doesn't like getting hit, if you know what I mean. I think Cain is also a better wrestler. I think Jake O'Brien's day ends as soon as you have a guy with better wrestling than him, in my opinion. I'm going to see Cain stopping this by strikes in the second round. It's going to be a fairly good fight, though. I think this is one of those times where Jake O'Brien will actually be made to fight, because he's going to have to really work hard to get Velasquez down and to try to finish him. Next up, we have Johnny Reese and Nate Logren. I don't really know either of these guys. I have seen both fight, but the guys they are fighting, I don't know. And it's hard to judge a guy's skill when you're looking at a fight that you just really don't know the guy. In the end, I'm going with Nate Logren, but this is honestly a flip of the coin. In all seriousness, don't take the pick overly seriously. But Nate Logren, second round, tap out. Next, Dale Ertl and Shannon Gurdy. I've never seen Dale Hartle fight. I have seen Shannon Gurdy. He has fought guys that generally I didn't know a lot about again. I mean, these are the two fights that I really don't know. I mean, everything else on the card I'm pretty confident on, but these two fights I really don't know. I'm going to go with Dale Ertl, because I'm not terribly impressed with what I see out of Shannon Gurdy. I'm going to say, in the second round, the TKO. Which is very weird for me, going with a guy who I've never heard of. Next up we have James Gibbo, who has the much more impressive record, 11-2, but has fought no one, versus Brad Blackburn, who has the misleading record of 12-9-1, and has fought some pretty good guys, actually. I see this one going to judge's decision just because James Gibbo is kind of hard to finish, but I just feel Brad Blackburn is a more a better fighter would be generally what I'm thinking of, but I mean more explosive athleticism, better striker, very hard to finish. He lost 6 of his 9 losses over decision, and his 3 other losses are to top guys, at least by the IFL standards. And when you're coming in and debuting in the UFC, I mean IFL's welterweight division, as good as anyone's out there past them. I mean, he's got wins over so let me roll down here. Delson Heleno, he TKO'd Jay Haran. He won a unanimous decision against Chris Wilson, who of course is now fighting in the UFC. His losses are to Brandon Melendez, Jay Jack, Roger Huerta, Rory Markham, and Mark Miller. Recently, anyways. You have to go back before 2005 to get to his other losses. And those are all reasonably good fighters. I would say getting submitted by Jay Jack is not exactly a good thing, but still. He is a solid fighter. I think he wins this decision. Just because I don't think Gibbo's... More because I don't think Gibbo's that skilled. Okay, Brody Farber, 13-3. He is a BJJ specialist with some stand-up against Rory Markham out of the Miletich camp, 14-4. Rory Markham is incredibly powerful punches. Not the most skilled striker you will see, but he has very good wrestling. He's kind of like a welterweight version of Chuck Liddell in some ways, and that he's basically a grappler killer. And Brody Farber, you're a grappler, second round knockout. I don't think Farber's chin, although he's only been stopped with strikes once, I don't think his chin is up to taking the Rory Markham punches for a long time. I think he does go to the second round. Anthony Johnson versus Kevin Burns. This is a pretty good fight. It's a little closer than I think people think, except I'm picking Anthony Johnson to be a first round stoppage. This fight could go later if Kevin Burns has any success at getting Anthony Johnson down. Problem is, Anthony Johnson's a better striker and I think a stronger wrestler. Not necessarily a better wrestler, but a stronger, bigger man with similar wrestling ability. I don't see Burns being able to take this down. I think Johnson knocks him out. Burns, that being said, not completely clueless on his feet. It could be an interesting exchange. Frank the Answer Edgar versus Hermes Franca. Taking Edgar by unanimous decision because better wrestler, better striker, technically anyways. Franca has very good power in his hands, but not tremendous speed or skill. I think Edgar's good enough to keep himself from being submitted from bottom by Hermes Franca, and I think he just goes on to the UD because I really don't see him finishing Hermes Franca. Reese Riptide Andy versus Brandon Vera. Reese Andy is a good fighter, and I hope they bring him back after this. That being said, I think Brandon Vera takes this fight. I think it goes to decision because Reese Andy, decently, he's a tough guy. He's only been stopped once. And I think Brandon Vera might be slightly cautious in this fight after losing to Verdum and Tim Sylvia. He may take a little more methodical pace, and I think that leads to a slightly more boring fight and a decision versus a stoppage. James Sandman Irvin versus Anderson the Spider Silva. Needless to say, Anderson's better in every technical aspect of this game. He's a better puncher, he's a better kicker, he's a better guy in the clinch, better on the ground. And he's a better technical wrestler, even although James Irvin might have the wrestling advantage due to his considerable size. That being said, the only times Irvin has been finished, other than against Mike Kyle, it was no, that would count. The only time he's ever been finished is by freak occurrences. See fights with Thiago Silva, and well, he got a win off of it, but Luis Archer Kane. Or guys considerably larger than him, Mike Kyle. The only other loss is to Stephan Bonner, if memory serves me correctly. Yes, Stephan Bonner. So, I don't see him being finished by Anderson. I see this being a kind of risky fight for the UFC because though Irvin is not as good in the clinch as Silva, he is not as good of a puncher as Silva, he's not as good a kicker as Silva, he is a lot bigger than Anderson Silva. And that might play into it. He does have very good KO power. He does finish fights. It would not surprise me to see James Irvin knock out Anderson Silva. I don't think it's a likely outcome because Anderson Silva is just that good. But it could happen, is kind of what I'm saying. And it's a bit of a gamble. I would have thought they would have wanted to put him up against somebody who, if they did beat him, it would be via not destroying the illusion of Anderson Silva's striking greatness. And it's not an illusion, don't get me wrong, when I say that. I mean, the UFC is trying to build him up as the unbeatable striker. Which I think on the feet at 185, there's only two guys I could see really giving him much of a try. Well, maybe three guys, and that's four guys actually, but two of them will never fight in the UFC, I guarantee. And that's basically Kung Lee, Zell Galsic, Melvin Mahoof and Gigar Mosasi. Those are the only guys I see having much striking with them. But at 205, there's some guys that can knock him out just because of the power and the size of bench. Alright, that's it for the Anderson Silva James Irvin fight card. Leave your comments, criticisms, and so on, unless they're stupid, in which case I will ignore them, or if I'm in a bad mood, tear you apart. Later.